Hey guys, Pro1701 here, and today we are going to be ranking stories directed by Graeme Harper. Now, Graeme Harper is, in my opinion, one of the best directors to ever direct Doctor Who. I don't think he's ever done a bad story. There might be a couple I don't care for, but I don't think there's any of them that are just bad. And a lot of the ones I don't care for, it's more script related than director related. Graeme Harper is also the only person who has the distinction of having directed stories from classic Doctor Who and modern Doctor Who. He directed several stories in the Russell T Davies era and a couple stories back in the 80s. So his final story, I believe, was Waters of Mars. So we had 12 entries on this list. I will be including Time Crash, even though it's only a mini episode, because I just think it's a good episode and deserves to be on this list. So 12 entries to look at by Graeme Harper, and we're going to start at number 12 with Turn Left. Now, I've mentioned before, I don't care for Turn Left the way most people do. It's down to the script. I don't care for the story. It's a good Donna episode, but it's not a good Dr. Donna episode, which I really like about Series 4. I love the Doctor and Donna together, same issue I have with Midnight. I don't like having another story in there where they're separated, because we don't get to see that fun dynamic of them working together. Now, I love the way this story is directed. I think it's executed very well. That, and to me, the kind of linchpin of the story is that the Doctor died because Donna wasn't there, so everything went to crap, and I don't think the Doctor would have died if he'd been left there. I just don't. I don't think he would have let himself be killed off like that. So, since my mind can't accept that that would have happened, the kind of whole story just kind of falls apart from there, because that's the linchpin of the story. So because of that, I don't really care for it, but well executed. Number 11 on the list is Waters of Mars, my least favorite of the specials. I know a lot of times it's the most popular one. I do think this story's overrated. Again, I think it's executed pretty well. I think the actors playing the kind of zombie characters act really well. They move in a very unnatural way, much like the kind of zombie characters from Unquiet Dead, which I've mentioned before, kind of unnerved me a bit. These unnerve me a little more, but to a lesser extent. I've watched Waters of Mars several times. I do go back to it every now and then. I think it's a good script. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good execution. Just for some reason, it doesn't gel with me. I love the ending of it with Dark Tenant. That's really nice. I think Lindsay Duncan does a really good job. For some reason, it's just not a story I like to go back and visit. I can't quite put my hand or my finger on why. I just don't care to go back and revisit it. Number 10 is Planet of the Ood. This one's boiled down to the fact I just don't really like the Ood. I think it's a good script. I think it's, again, well executed. I think all of the actors do a really good job here. I like the guy who's kind of playing the leader of the planet, and love how he kind of gets what he deserves at the end. I love that it shows the Ood to be very intelligent, actually, more so than we had ever thought before. But just for the Ood themselves, I've never cared for it. I don't like their design. Their design's, ooh. I just don't care for their design. Because of that, I don't really care for Ood. Anytime I see an Ood, I'm just like, eh. So, that's why it falls this low. Good script, good execution, just not for me. Number 9 is 42. We're getting to the ones I do enjoy. 42 is probably my least favorite story of Series 3, but I still like it. Series 3 is my favorite series in the modern series. And I don't think there's any bad stories in it. I think they're all good to great stories. I don't even think there's any meh stories. I think they're all good to great stories. And one of the reasons, again, is Graeme Harper is such a good director. He directed several stories in Series 2, 3, and 4. And he's very good at what he does. But I like 42. I think the script is fine. I think the directing is good. I find it an enjoyable watch. Number 8 is The Unicorn and the Wasp. This is a fun one. Again, I think the execution's done. This is one of those stories I don't think people fully appreciate, because much like Crimson Horror, it's not meant to be essential Doctor Who. You know, it is kind of just a light romp, just a fun filler episode. And it is a lot of fun. It's got a lot of humor going through it. There's a lot of good humor in the script. There's a lot of good humor in the way it's executed. I mean, it's a giant wasp running around killing people Agatha Christie style with Agatha Christie there. It is meant to be very tongue-in-cheek. There's a lot of humorous parts. The bit when the Doctor's poisoned and Donna's having to save him is absolutely hilarious and one of my favorite Dr. Donna moments. When the Doctor's reminiscing and interviewing people, and he starts reminiscing himself about when he's in the jungle eating the apple. There's a lot of humor in this story. Much, again, like Crimson Horror, it's just meant to be fun filler. It's not meant to be, you know, Dalek or Utopia or anything like that. So as long as you enjoy it for what it is, it's a really good story. Number 7 on the list is the Stolen Earth two-parter, Stolen Earth and Journey's End. I think this one's a little overrated, but I think it does a really good job bringing all of these companions together. It really does have high stakes. I think what Julian Bleach does a really good job as Davros. He's easily the best Davros since Michael Wisher. And the makeup for Davros is perfect here. That's the way Davros always needs to look from now on. That is the best makeup design I've ever seen for Davros. Really, really good. And again, the directing here is top notch. You really feel the high stakes of this story. Really good. Number 6 is the Army of Ghost two-parter. Yep, that's Graeme Harper too. I love how it changes from a Cyberman story to a Dalek story halfway through. That's clever. That is very clever. It gets points just for that. I think the execution is done really well here with the Daleks. I like that Dalek Sec is a black Dalek. I don't really think we've seen that. It's the first time we've definitely seen that in Modern Who, to kind of signify that he's the leader of the group. I think the bit with Rose was drawn out a little too far, but that's more a scripting issue, and I get why they did it. But I think it's just another cracking story and a great way to end series 2. Again, high stakes, very high stakes. Number 5 is the Age of Steel two-parter. I've talked before how this is easily my favorite Cyberman story of the modern series. I think part 2 lives up to part 1 really well, and that's down to the script and the execution. I think Graeme did a really good job reintroducing the Cybermen to a new audience, basically, for people who had never seen them before. And while some of the delete stuff I don't really care for, and I know that some people think they're a little too robotic, that's a valid criticism. That's more story than directing. But let's keep in mind that these are Cybermen from a different universe who have a different origin to the classic Cybermen. So it makes sense that they would be different, why they're more robotic. I'm pretty sure they're just a brain and a metal body at this point in this story, instead of just a human body with stuff grafted onto it. So different origin, it makes a little more sense for them to act different. So that's actually why I let the more robotic things slide here. Definitely, in my opinion, the best that Cybermen have been in the new series. Number 4 is Revelation of the Daleks with Colin Baker. Really good story. Need to rewatch that one. I don't own it. I do hope season 22 comes out next year, the box set, because I would really love to rewatch this one. I do remember really enjoying it. Davros is really good here. It's a very dark story. The bit when the guy's in like the glass Dalek and he's turning into a Dalek, that's creepy stuff. Creepy stuff. And Graeme directs that so very well. I like Revelation of the Daleks a lot. I like all 3 of the 80s Dalek stories, but Revelation's really, really good. Number 3 is the Caves of Androzani. Because while I love the Caves of Androzani, it's absolutely amazing. This was Graeme Harper's first story he ever directed for Doctor Who. I mean, he's been involved with Doctor Who long before that. He's been in with Doctor Who since the 60s. But this is the first one he actually directed. While I do find Caves a little overrated, personally. I don't think it's like top 10 classic Doctor Who like some people do. But I do think it is Peter Davison's best story. Objectively and subjectively, it and Castrovalva are my 2 favorites. Peter Davison does such good work here. And Peter has even said he really enjoyed working with Graeme on this story. That if he had had Graeme maybe more, he might have done another season. He really liked how Graeme directed. Caves is really good, though. It's a strong story. It really is just the Doctor in a situation where his main goal is to get out. This is a planet that him and Perry should never have even landed on. You know, they're not out to save anybody. There's nobody there that needs rescuing. Everybody he runs into is terrible. All these different forces he's going up against are bad people. His main goal is getting the hell out of there with Perry and trying to save their lives. It's brutal stuff if you watch it. There really is a lot on the line. That episode 3 cliffhanger is legendary for a reason. It is a really, really top-notch story and is definitely essential Doctor Who viewing. Number 2 is Utopia. I love Utopia. And I think there's a reason why Utopia is considered better than Sound of Drums and Last of the Time Lords, and part of that's down to the fact Graeme Harper only directed part 1, Utopia. And he did it so well. That reintroduction of the Master is phenomenal. Getting Derek to play the Professor, beautiful casting. And I love how it gets you liking the Professor. Him and the Doctor have some nice conversations. You can tell they like each other. And it's like a stab to the heart when you find out he's actually the Master. And that reveal at the end. Oh, when he does that character turn. And I love how it's an actual literal turn. It's perfect. And you can see it right in the eyes. When he turns and you just see that in the eyes, that's beautiful storytelling, that's beautiful acting on Derek's part, that's beautiful directing on Graham's part. I love Utopia. And while I like the other 2 episodes, I like Sound of Drums, I like Last of the Time Lords, they're nowhere near as good as Utopia is. I love Utopia. Everything in that story is just done so well. It's one of, I think, the best directed episodes in the modern series, easily. Beautiful stuff. And number 1 is Time Crash. I love Time Crash. I know it's only a mini episode, but because it's a mini episode, it's so tight. There's nothing drawing it out. Everything works at such a good pace. Davison and Tennant have such good chemistry together, which is great because this is before Tennant had met Davison's daughter. So they really were just 2 actors working together. But, you know, Davison's a fan of Peter Davison. Tennant's a fan of Peter Davison's work. That bit when he's talking to Davison about, you know, I loved being you, you know. It's not just the 10th Doctor talking to the 5th Doctor. It's Tennant talking to Davison. You can tell he's kind of fanboying out a little bit. It's wonderful. It really is a nice nod to the classic series. And it's just so wonderful seeing them together. Our first multi-Doctor story for the modern series. And I think both actors do a good job. I love the humor in it. I love the nostalgia in it. I love everything about Time Crash. I've watched it probably 30 times at least in my life. I absolutely love going back and watching it. And Graeme just does such a good job with the short amount of time he has to do this story. And there's a reason why it's number 1 on this list. So, that is how I rank the Graeme Harper stories. I love Graeme Harper. I mentioned, actually, when I did my list of, like, top 5 or top 7 or whatever it was, list of things that Series 13, or Series 14, I think is what I was talking about. Series 14 of Doctor Who needs to do, when I was talking about what they need to do after Series 13 for Series 14, one of the things on that list was bring back Graeme Harper. We haven't had him since The Waters of Mars. He's one of the best directors to direct Doctor Who ever. He also directed some episodes of Sarah Jane Adventure, I might add. Is get Graeme Harper back. Get Stephen Moffat back writing some scripts, because he's really good when he doesn't have the weight of Sherlock and Doctor Who on his shoulders. We all know that. And get Graeme Harper back to direct, because Time Crash is perfect proof that you get a story written by Stephen and directed by Graeme, you have gold. So that's one of the top things they need to do after either Chibnall leaves or Jodie leaves. When Series 14 comes around, get back Graeme Harper. I really went on about that in that video. So comment down below and let me know what you think of my list, what you think of Graeme Harper, and if you would love to see him back in Doctor Who's future. I always enjoy interacting with you guys and finding out what you think about all of this. Anything else about Graeme Harper you want to say, let me know. The comment section is one of the reasons I really enjoy doing these videos. I think we have a nice community going on down there, and I'm enjoying that. Other things to do, click the like button, click the subscribe button, click the bell for notifications so you never miss out on a new video. I do a new video daily. I have also started a Patreon page if you would like to contribute to that. There's a link to that down below if you'd like to become one of my patrons. Through the entire month of June, I am allowing access, even at the entry tier level, to stuff that's normally for higher tier levels. Access to behind-the-scenes videos, bloopers, outtakes, shelved ideas, stuff like that, polls to vote in. 2 polls just finished. I'll be doing a review on Leela as the result of 1 poll, and I will be rewatching The Android Invasion as a result of another poll. Ham's going to love that. And then another poll should be up probably by the time this video goes out, hopefully, if I'm on it as I should be. So if you would like to check that out, there's a link down below. Check that out if you have a second. Most importantly, though, stay safe out there, and thank you for watching.